I have to say I'm very impressed by how many people are joining us today. As Kara said, my name is Jennifer Taylor. I am a librarian at the Hagerstown Public Library. Um, there's going to be plenty of time for questions. I do like to have a bit of discussion when talking about gaming. Um, so there will be plenty of time for people to ask questions at the end. I also have a tendency, if I really get on a roll, to talk fast. So, Kara, if I'm talking too fast, please send me a message and tell me to slow down.
Okay.
Um, so we're going to be talking about a program that I developed called Quick Play Game Club, and that opportunities for teen outreach that the development of this program has allowed our library. The agenda for today is going to be broke down into three main points because even though the program is fairly straightforward, there was a lot that made it possible, a lot of things to consider if you want to do this kind of program. And admittedly, a lot of the success of this program has to do with timing and luck and no short amount of hard work and stubbornness. The three parts of this webinar are going to cover teen outreach, school cooperation, and gaming benefits. There's actually a bonus fourth because it's also going to cover what has happened since that was successful. A little bit about me. I grew up playing games. I have been a avid gamer for over 35 years of my life. I play every variety of game you can imagine. I play card games, board games, video games, role-playing games. Gaming is a very important part of my life. When I was a teenager, my family dynamic actually incorporated gaming as a means to merge two families together when my mother remarried. Prior to coming to work at the library, I also spent an amount of time working in social services as a case manager for teenagers. And that is where I first experienced the benefits of gaming, particularly quick playing games, to help connect with teenagers who were my clients. I'm a vocal supporter of game playing for a variety of reasons. I have done a few other talks about the importance of doing gaming in libraries and doing gaming just in general life. I've worked for the Hagerstown Public Library for 7 years now, and I began trying to host gaming programs in 2014 with a variety of levels of success. And then shortly after I started doing general and family oriented programming, I started focusing on teen programs. So, all of us know that it can be difficult to get teenagers into the library and to engage with the teenagers in the community. We know because we work in libraries, and we know that libraries have a lot to offer teenagers. This isn't news or a new idea, but what is new is the ever growing mountain of demand on teenagers and the struggle that they experience with juggling all of that makes it difficult for them to take advantage of the things that we can help them with. So, this was the product of me trying to engage teenagers. A lot of the trouble is that we spend a lot of time and money planning programs that very few teens or hardly any teens or no teens come to. And we spend time trying to reach out to teens to let them know what we have to offer, but they just don't have the time for it, or other people in their life don't think that they need that. The biggest things that I've come up against as struggles for engaging teenagers in the community where I live are the academic demands, the college preparation demands, the sports that the teenagers are involved in, and the amount of free time that they have that's quickly diminishing as they get older. And when they are told repeatedly, these are the things that are important, sometimes having a little fun or game playing is labeled as unimportant. Um, so, family game nights are something that I tried to do, themed game nights. I tried running Pathfinder tabletop gaming nights. I tried doing Pokemon, doing Yu Gi Oh!, doing board game clubs, doing teen crafts and teen advisory board sessions. I found inspiration initially from something said by someone at a library conference that I attended. I couldn't say who it was that told me this, but it stuck with me. You can't wait for teenagers to come to you. You have to go to them. It made me think really hard about what was going to be necessary to make that happen. Basically, what was going to be necessary was thinking outside of the box. I apologize. I realize that some of my slides on here are not where I thought they were going to be. So around this time, there was an unfortunate situation with our local school. It's not an unusual situation. It's actually become a fairly common situation that hopefully will go out of trend. The school no longer employed a librarian within the school. The libraries inside the school, including at the high school where I was once a student myself, had become black holes, only occasionally ventured into by brave teachers or students who actually snuck out of class. I realized that maybe I could reach out to the school and offer some degree of assistance by raising student awareness of the town's public library as a resource that teenagers could come to the library in town and get things that they would normally be getting from their school library. There were, of course, complications to this plan. One of the main problems that we had trying to initially get into the school to work with the school was that they have a very set schedule. Their schedule locally is an alternating daily schedule where Monday, Wednesday, they have a certain run of classes. Tuesday, Thursday, they have a certain run of classes. And Friday, they have all of the classes for a shorter period of time. So I was trying to look at ways that I could go into those schools and do programming that would fit around what the students were doing. All of the students had a required study hall that they had to attend. So if I chose to stay during the whole day, I could run programming throughout the day. But that's kind of inconvenient when I work at the public library. I kind of need to be here. They also have an extended lunch. I could go in during lunchtime and offered to run programming over that period of time that students could, when they finished eating, rather than go shoot hoops in the gym, they could come sit at a table and play games. There was also a brief suggestion about using a block of time called Tiger Time to meet with students then, but that block of time was 30 minutes. But I went ahead and began talking to the staff of the library, the administration of the library, about getting set up to come into the school and try to do some kind of programming. I stuck pretty close to something that would have to do with gaming because, again, I believe in the benefits of gaming. I did all of the paperwork. If you decide to go into a school, do make sure to check to see if they require background checks for volunteers. But I got that all finished and started trying to work with the school. So, one of the comments and things that frequently came up when I was trying to work with the school is that the day was really fast. There was a lot that needed to be done during the day. And so I presented doing gaming as a way for the kids to basically take a breath, take a moment to sit. They're in the middle of all these classes, they're in the middle of preparing for things and working on their futures, but they needed to take a second just to pause. Before I was actually able to run a successful program in the school, it's not an exaggeration to say that I spent 2 years trying to make it happen and had four rejections. The last one of those rejections was a program that I had first planned and attempted using fast playing card games over lunch period, and the principal called and canceled it that morning, saying that they decided that they didn't think that it would be beneficial to the students or that the students would actually be interested. His argument that he was certain that I would be wasting my time setting something up when no teenagers at their school would be interested in gaming that wasn't electronic based. It was also the case that it was a very difficult administration to try to work with. They had very set goals for their students, and most of those goals involved college preparedness. It was very discouraging, but I am also pretty stubborn, and so my stubbornness paid off eventually. I kept with the argument that playing games is beneficial. I provided them with documentation and research and lots of statistics. I finally got lucky in that a new school year brought about a new school librarian. They gave in to public pressure largely and hired somebody to fill that role. It was a single person who was going to be dividing her time between the high school and the elementary school, but it happened to be somebody who also appreciated the benefits of gaming and who also knew that there were benefits to creating these little windows of stress-free downtime to have a little bit of fun and step away from the hard work that needed to be done. So, the origins of Quick Play Game Club began first with International Games Week in November of 2017. I ran 2 sessions of what we called the program Tiger Time Games Workshop to introduce high school students to a variety of fast play games that the library had in its collection. My intention was to demo these games for the teenagers that came in. If the teenagers liked the games, then to encourage them to come to the library to check out the games, take them home with them, and play with their family and friends, or just to come into the library and hang out and play games here. When I was planning that, the program notes that you see on your screen were some things that had to be kept in mind. I went into the program knowing from the administration, but not the librarian. The administration believed that it was not going to be successful, but they finally, I think, got wore down more than convinced, and were hoping by me going in and not having a successful program that maybe I'd just stop bugging them about it. As it happened, though, the very first session that we had during that small window of time had 12 teenagers take part. The second session had 26 teenagers. It had doubled, more than doubled, 2 days later. The success of that special event was what I needed to prove to the administration that this was a valuable program. So after the first program was successful during that week, the librarian at the school and I decided we were going to make it a regular program. It was going to meet twice a month, and on special occasions, if it was successful, we thought we might be able to get it in working more. The games, the gaming program ran for about a year. It ran for a year with the program notes and the rules that I would go into these sessions, and in most cases, I would need to teach the kids how to play these games. But then I could also use that as an opportunity to share programming that we had in the library. After the first year, the attendance of it, by the end of the year, I was regularly seeing between 30 and 50 participants. We had always somebody new who'd not been there before. We had a lot of times that we met that it was meeting at the same time as NHS was meeting or a different club was meeting, or students had to make up tests or make up assignments or do things for different teachers. So it was highly likely that our attendance would have been even larger if there weren't all these other things going on at the same time that we were competing for their attention. But that first year kind of showed us that we needed some rules for it. We also needed an organization planning, because if we had things planned and simplified, then kids saved some time coming in.
Jennifer, there's a couple questions that have come in.
Yes.
Uh, One is, do you primarily do online games or do you also do a lot of card and board games?
Um, so I'm getting ready to cover that next. We do
Okay.
not do any electronic gaming out of our library, actually. All of the gaming that we do in the library is what's called tabletop gaming. For this program, it is specifically card games and board games and dice games. We also have other programming that we do within the library, that we do a lot of role playing games, but that's a different discussion.
Okay. Also, did you require sign up? Did they have to sign up?
We did not initially. What we do for the students that want to come, the getting involved in this is just as fast as the playing the games, because we have a 5-minute passing period that we stand in the hallways, the school librarian and I, with library passes. She'll print out 45 to 50 library passes, and the first kids to come to us are the kids that get to play.
Okay.
And so when they know that it's going on, it's in their school announcements. It's then their responsibility to come find us if they don't have a schedule conflict, but we always run out of passes.
Okay. Sounds good. I know
Okay.
you're going to probably talk about some of the games that you use, so
Oh
that
yes,
was one of the questions.
I have that planned.
Several of them. Okay. I'll let you get back to it.
Okay,
Thanks.
I'm actually going to jump my slides around a little bit, and I apologize for that, but I want to cover what the rules we developed were, before I get into what games, because what the rules are kind of affected what games we use. So these are the rules that we came up with. Anyone is welcome to participate in quick play game club. No cell phones. We found that we would a lot of times have kids coming in, joining a table, and about half of them would be sitting at the table playing the games, but there would be a few of them at the table on their phones or doing things that honestly were disruptive to the ones who were focusing on playing the games. We also had to make a rule: don't overload the game table. Every table has a card that indicates how many players the game supports, because we had a day where I had 54 people come in and literally 45 of them were playing Uno, a single game of Uno. So at the time, we didn't have any rule against that, but it made it so chaotic and they were teaming up for Uno that it just got to be too chaotic. And we wanted people to try different games. And it also could be disruptive because the people that wanted to play things with others kind of felt left out. We also set it up to where you could watch a game being played if you didn't know how to play it. We had to specify that only one person per table to do that, though, because we would have a small group of people playing a game and then the table completely surrounded by everybody standing over there watching them play. And then we also had to make it a rule to be inclusive because unfortunately teenagers can be mean, and we would occasionally have people who wouldn't be included in a game that would come in, go to a table that was, just a few people of a different social group than them, ask, "Can I play this game?" And they would tell the person, "Oh, we're waiting for this other person and we'll be full," but that person wasn't really coming, and it created some drama there. So these are the rules that we established for the games. Now, there is an exception because there are a couple of games that I take that the kids have started playing and they use a timer, and the timer is an app on their phone. And there's a couple of different games that have cell phone extensions to the game. So we do allow them to play that. So I'm going to rattle off all the games that I have in my collection that I use for my quick play game group. At the end of it, if you would like a printed out list of these games, you can email me and I can email you a list. The very first games that I took the first time that I went was Exploding Kittens, Sushi Go, and two different varieties of Uno and Timeline. I can tell you Exploding Kittens is the game that is probably the most popular at our school. Everybody wants to play Exploding Kittens, and that table fills up first, but Sushi Go is the next favorite. We also play with Punderdome, Bring Your Own Book, Code Names, Speedy Bee and Spot It, Are You the Traitor, Hanabi. The Flux games are really popular, and there are a lot of variety of those, just like Uno. One Deck Dungeon, Get the MacGuffin, Retro Lunacy, Jenga, which you can do Jenga in a variety of sizes. The one that I take is a small travel size. Love Letter, which also has a lot of varieties. There is a variation on that called Loot Letter that is a Munchkin related game. Welcome to the Dungeon, Left Center Right, Trophy Buck. There's a game called Bells that it is literally just an agility magnet game picking up bells. And that one is also very, very popular. Zombie Dice, Dice of Crowns, and then there's a dice version of Settlers of Catan. The dice games tend to get played a lot because all the kids are doing is rolling dice and they seem to really like that. But the card games are equally popular. Yes, there will be a list of them. I'll be sending out an email if you would like it. So, the success of the program initially very much proved to the administration, especially as the year progressed and the number of attendees increased, that the teenagers definitely were interested in what most of them called retro gaming because it was not electronic based. And I don't like to be one of those people that say I told you so, but that thought did cross my mind, I won't lie. So when we go in and prepare for the program, each table gets one or two games. The picture there kind of shows what it looks like. I put a table card down that says how many players each game needs because we don't want more players than that to be at the table, and they have to leave the player number visible so that the supervisors can look at the table and say, oh, this is only supposed to have 5 people, and there's 12 of you sitting here, so some of you need to move. It also has a list of the rules because we don't want the kids to say, oh, well, I didn't know that was a rule because it's sitting right there in front of them. So they have to take some responsibility for it. This is a couple of examples that I use for my table cards. It says the name of the game. It says how many players. I do specify the age when it is necessary because our high school is actually a junior senior high school. And so we have students who are 12 years old. And I want it to be clear if they're going in to play a game that can be pretty complicated. The junior high and the ninth graders are most of the attendees. It tends to be something that draws the younger kids in the building unless they've been doing it for a while and then they stick with it. They make the time for it. The older kids, when I first started, just had too many other things that they had to do. I threw out some pictures of some of our gaming tables so you can see this is kind of how the kids have taken over doing it themselves. They will sit at a little end table and pull chairs around it. They'll even sit on the floor playing some of the games that they play. And it is pretty funny because we have regulars that they always go to the same games. Those are the games that they want to go to. We also know which games are more popular. So when we set up the games, we tend to alternate with one we expect a big table and one we expect smaller tables. So the initial success of the one shot has led to a very successful program. Um, it has also allowed me to do a lot of other things. Since this gaming program was initially started, the administration of the school has changed at Hagerstown. And the new administration, when they came in and they saw that there was this successful outreach program, they got very interested in doing more things. It's allowed me to set up a couple of different STEAM programs that our library does as an outreach in the high school library. It also has allowed me to do gaming events. The school has now asked that during their finals, the schedule changes and the kids go from having hour and a half long classes to 3 hour class blocks, which when you've got a 3 hour block for a study hall, that's a lot of time to sit there playing on your phone. So we've been taking some of our longer play gaming collection up to the school, and the kids come in and play games. I had 64 kids come in, sign up, and come in and play a game during their lunch, during their tiger time, and during their study hall block. That was 64 individuals. Some of those individuals actually came in multiple times during the week. So it made it very successful to have these games in the library. It's also allowed me to move from having two a month quick play game club to once a week quick play game club. So it's proven to be very, very successful. It's also increased the amount of circulation of our games that we keep in the library because we have a circulating game collection and we have a play in the library game collection as well. It's increased attendance for some of the team programming that we do here in the library that's not related to gaming as well. And during the summertime, when it's not happening at the high school, the kids come in and play in our library so that they can still play those games. It has also become the case that the high school's library has started developing its own game collection so that when I'm not bringing games, they still have games for the kids to play. So now I'm at the point where I can answer any questions.
This is great, Jennifer. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Absolutely. This is one of those topics that I can talk at length about, to be honest.
Yeah. Yes, I am going to mail out the recording and I'm going to mail out a list. I guess, Jennifer, can you email that list and then
I
I
can
can.
email you that list. I'm actually gonna, if you can email out the updated slides, because going through, I realized that wasn't the final version of the
Oh,
slides.
crud. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
I
Okay.
should have run through them while we were doing the sound check earlier, but I
Okay.
just went through a few and they were right, but
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back
it's
up
not a big
here
deal.
and start reading the questions. Sorry. Let's see. First, Casey, what is the length of game that you look for?
So if you look on a almost every game package when you purchase it. On the side of the package, it tells you the number of players and the duration of time and the ages. I look for games that can be played in 30 minutes or less, or sometimes I will go to a 45-minute game because I know that they do that sometimes the kids will adjust the rules so that they can get it done quicker.
All right, next question. Have you tried or considered spinning this off into more role-playing games or longer board game events?
So we have done the longer board game events. That was during finals week. I take the longer play board games like Ticket to Ride and Settlers of Catan and what was some of the others. Um, I have a lengthy list of long play games versus my short play games. Those went to the high school during finals week, and the kids would come to the library and play those during their study halls. So that
Okay.
was done. And then our library actually hosts right now four different role playing game groups. We have what is called the Hack Club, which actually, in a couple of months, I'm doing another webinar on the Hack Club. I gave a presentation on it at Gen Con during Trade Day last year. So there'll be more information forthcoming about my role playing groups.
Okay.
Um, and then from us doing that hack club and from some of the other interactions at the high school, I have two Dungeons and Dragons groups that have formed on their own, and kids come to the library here um, on Thursday after school or on Monday after school, and they just play role playing games here in the library for 2 or 3 hours.
That's awesome. Very
It,
awesome.
it really is. In fact, we're looking at this year. One of my goals for this year is to finish the setup of a YouTube channel for our library, and
Mhm.
we will be live streaming the role playing games.
Oh, cool. All right. Uh, I've also had some requests for the documentation or statistics of the benefits of gaming that you provided to your administration. If you could share those or links to
Yes,
that.
I
Okay.
can I can share that. That'll take me a little bit more time to get together, but I will put
Okay.
that on my to-do list.
Okay. Samantha wants to know what is the class size at the high school? Um, are there a lot of students in this school?
Hagerstown is a fairly small high school. I think that the junior senior high altogether has around 600 to 650 students. It is not a very big school. It
Okay.
is one of several schools within our county, um, and yeah, it's not a very large school. So the town itself, where Hagerstown's library is located, um, is right around 2,000 people.
Okay.
So
How
it
much?
is a small community.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Have you tried incorporating a Dungeons and Dragons campaign before?
To quick play
I,
specifically,
well,
or because our hack club, we do. We have Dungeons and Dragons, we have uh, Pathfinder, and all those things, but that's a separate gaming.
okay. How much participation did you get in the role-playing games?
My role playing game groups that we host within the library range anywhere from 6 to 15 players at a table at a time.
Okay. Uh,
My husband is a volunteer and comes in and helps me run that in the
oh,
library.
yeah.
And some of these D&D groups of the teenagers that have formed on their own, they do some role playing on their own when they're at school, but they're more likely to whip out their Magic the Gathering cards and play something like that while they're at school.
Okay. April says that they have a D&D cafe. It's a regular Tuesday, Thursday group for them, and it's been very successful.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. I've some other people are giving suggestions for games.
And I
Aside,
will be reading those with interest later
okay,
because I'm always looking for more games to add.
okay. Aside from the summertime, were you able to do any internal game programming at your library using a similar setup?
We did International Games Week. We had gaming stuff happening in the library. We also do periodic family game nights where people can come in with their family and play things here. Um, and a lot of times I will use the quick play games for that just because a lot of the younger kids that come in don't have a lot of patience to sit for a long period of time in the library with their family. We have a number of quick play games that are actually designed for much younger kids that the high schoolers still like to play. We have a game called Super Kitty Bug Slap. Let me say that again, Super Kitty Bug Slap. And then another game called Blah Blobber, and then the game Spot It. And those are actually great quick play games for even younger elementary age kids. Um, So I've done some stuff here in the library. I do not have the numbers as far as attendance numbers like I do at the high school coming into the library, but we still have a pretty decent attendance for that.
Okay. Do you have an adult helper for each table of teens, or how do you do that?
The librarian at the school kind of helps me out, but for the most part, the kids take care of themselves. The kids have been playing these games long enough that most of them know how to play the games, or they're teaching, the students are teaching each other how to play a game. When I got 5 Minute Dungeon and I took it for the first time, I was prepared to sit down and teach them to play it, but I had a kid come in and real excited, oh, I love this game. I have this game at home, and he got 6 boys and they all or 5 boys and they all sat at the table. In fact, he's one of the pictures that I had in my slides. He taught them to play the game. So if the kids are teaching each other to play these games, I try to let them do that. I
Okay.
don't want to miss out on that social interaction between them.
Yeah, that's great. Um, will you be at Gen Con this year?
I'm not sure if I'm going to be going to Gen Con this year. I've been to Gen Con for the last 7 years straight. I have now presented on trade day 2 different times. I'm actually kind of looking at a couple of other conventions just for a change,
Yeah,
um, but I haven't made that decision yet.
okay. April asked a question to everyone. She says, I'm thinking about streaming Critical Role once a month. Is anyone doing that?
Critical Role is fantastic. I follow that. Um, I follow several streaming role playing game groups. Um, it's a really good um, example of how you can do that. It's also a good lesson in how to play role playing games.
Uh-huh.
We have in the past here at our library done a streaming of, I don't think it was Critical Role. I think I did a streaming of something else off of Geek and Sundry that Will Wheaton was doing.
Have you ever, I think I skipped over one. Have you incorporated any, I'm not sure what that stands for, MTG, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, or anything for quick
Oh,
play?
MTG is Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
We've had Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments in the library here. One of the things with Quick Play Game Club is I have a table set aside with the option of bring your own game.
Okay.
So I do regularly have kids that come in with their own decks of something that they want to play, and so I have a table set aside for them to do that. And
Uh-huh.
Magic the Gathering is frequently played. That's very popular at the high school right now. Um, Locally, I have found that the younger kids in elementary school are the ones still playing Pokemon.
Right.
Um, but Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, we've had a couple of events of that in our public library during International Games Week a couple years ago. When I signed up to get the free games sent, I got a massive box of Yu-Gi-Oh cards
Okay.
that they sent multiple um, decks that we could give away. And so attendees that came got these mini decks. And
That's cool.
we've done stuff like that in the library. And then the kids kind of took it upon themselves to incorporate that into the Quick Play Club.
Okay. Have you ever tried an adult teen couple night where they teamed for, say, Scrabble or Yahtzee?
We have not tried that. Um, I have not really thought about doing that, to be honest.
That's kind of a cool idea, right?
Something to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. A new program idea. Let's see. Taylor says our teens are tough. I try to get them in to play games like these, but they seem to only be interested in Fortnite or Minecraft. I have a teen Facebook group where I ask for program ideas, and that is the running topic, the online gaming, which we don't really have the capabilities to have a lot of online devices. So I'm hoping to run with your advice and get some interest in non-online games.
Yeah, I can tell you, like I said when I first started, I struggled to get teenagers to come into the library, and we were offering um, all kinds of tabletop games, role-playing games, things like that. And I would go to the school and put things in the hands of teenagers as they were leaving that talked about the programs that we had. It really wasn't until I went into where the teenagers were and where they basically were a captive audience in a way. They
Mm-hmm.
had to stay in this building all day long. So I went in and made myself available in a block of time when they would be available.
Genius. All right, let's see what else we've got here. I've got some more comments. I'm looking for questions just to make sure I've answered all the questions. Um, April suggests maybe a senior citizen element to a partnership. She said we
I
have a
tried
local.
that as
Oh,
well. Yeah, that was actually something that I tried here, and it didn't have a lot of success. I would get lots of senior citizens interested,
Mm-hmm.
but not so much teenagers. We we had a lot of little kids interested though.
Uh-huh.
And I can say from the senior citizen end of thing, so when we have our role playing groups that meet in the library, we have people that come and sit in the library just to listen to them play. And a
Really?
lot of it are senior citizens.
Wow. All right. More comments, which I'll send out the chat too. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't miss any questions. Does anybody else have any questions for Jennifer? Kai asked, any thoughts for other spaces to meet teens outside of the library?
So when I was originally giving thought to where I could go to see teenagers and have them as a captive audience, I actually considered getting in touch with the local band director because this was during the summertime and I knew that they were doing band camp
Mm-hmm.
and they were always looking for things to do when they would have breaks in the middle of their marching practices.
Good idea.
Um, so I actually was able to do that a little bit, but it wasn't so much the sit down and play games. It was more just organize some games to play during their break.
Okay.
Um, but it made me think about the places where the teenagers were going to be.
Uh-huh.
Some of the sports teams might work with you. I didn't have a lot of luck with our local football team at the time. They were not interested in this. If you've got preschools and you've got the right kinds of games, you could go to preschools, you could go to daycares, you could go to, like, if there's local individuals who babysit and have large groups of them, you might be able to invite that group to come to your library if you don't go out to them.
Good idea.
Um, that's kind of, yes, homeschool groups, absolutely. We do have several homeschool um, groups locally. Hagerstown being a small town, I don't have a lot of options for what's out there that I could approach that might exist more in a larger place. Boys and Girls Club absolutely would probably appreciate that though.
A lot of comments, people thanking you for all your ideas
Thank
and the
you.
tips.
And if you have any other questions, and if you want the list of the games, my email is there. Please shoot me an email. I'm always happy to collaborate or even just give feedback and discussion. And I
Well,
can completely appreciate the very small staff library. Hagerstown's library has a staff of 8 people that do everything.
wow. I'm going to put up here's the information to download your certificate at the top. Just click on it and download it, and then you can fill the information in for yourself um, and have a certificate for the participation if you need that. I almost forgot to put that up.
You'd have heard about it later.
I know. I guess I could always send it out. Looks like everybody's saying thank you, thank you, thank you. It said it's been very helpful, very useful information. Super excited to use this info. Thanks a ton. So, thank you, Jennifer. This has been awesome. A lot of good ideas.
I'm
Really
happy to
appreciate
help.
this for us.
I appreciate everybody listening to me.
If you do have anything you think of after we end the webinar, you can always email me when I send your recording and the list of game ideas. If anything
Yes.
else comes to mind, I can get in touch with Jennifer and get answers for you.
And like I said, I am doing a webinar, another one of these, in fact, that will specifically be about the role playing game side of things. I believe that one's scheduled for at the end of April.
Is that one with George?
Yes,
Okay. I don't know if George is still on. Yeah, there you go.
he
George
appears
will
to
tell
be.
us. Yeah. When is it again, George? Did you say April?
Yeah, it's the last Wednesday
The
in
last
April.
Wednesday of April. Okay. All right.
And
So
we
there'll
will
be
be
a good meeting.
discussing, and actually that will be my presentation that I gave at Gen Con talking about the creation of the Hack Club.
Okay. All right. So I hope all of you will come back for that. That will be, well, hang on. Let me double check just to be sure. But
April
that's
29th.
probably right. Let me check my calendar. Yes, George is right. It will be the 29th, April 29th. And you said that's called the Hack Club?
Yes, it's the abbreviation for Heroic Adventure Kids Club.
Oh, cool. All right.
And it's a pun on hack and slash, which is a gaming term.
Okay. All right. Well, I invite all of you to come back for the April 29th webinar to hear what Jennifer has to say about that.
And Kara, if you want to check, the slides have been updated that I
Oh,
shared with you if you need them reshared.
okay. Why don't you, with the list of games, just to be sure?
Yeah, I can do that. I can actually make a slide that includes the whole list. That